Hello everybody, my name is Ollie. I'm a doctor living and working in England as part of the NHS. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about a concept, an idea, a mentality, if you like, or maybe a phenomenon is the best word. And it again comes surrounding some of the discourse that we've been seeing around the doctor strikes in England. I know, I'm really sorry, I said that educational content was coming back. It is. I've just changed jobs. I'm now working in psychiatry, which is really cool and exciting, and there is lots to talk about, but strike stuff is still going on. And today we're talking about crab mentality, or crab in a bucket syndrome. There are lots of similar names for this concept. So what I'm actually talking about, let's imagine you have a bucket with a load of crabs in it. In fact, before we do that, let's take a step backwards. Let's say that you went to the beach and you went crabbing to generate the scenario that I can actually build this flimsy metaphor around. So anyway, one way or another, you have found yourself in possession of a bucket with a load of crabs in it. Now the central idea here goes that each individual crab in the bucket is actually very capable of climbing out of the bucket, scaling over the top, and scurrying away to freedom somewhere. But for whatever reason, apparently, should one crab come close to getting over the top and escaping to freedom, another crab that is in the bucket will reach up, grab hold of it, and pull the escapee crab back down into the bucket. And because every crab in the bucket behaves this way, this means that no crab ever actually escapes the bucket, even though that each one of them individually is capable of doing so. And what this means ultimately is that even though the crabs are capable of leaving the bucket, because of this behavior in which they pull other crabs back down, none of them ever do leave the bucket, they stay trapped forever and eventually get eaten or whatever happens to crabs in buckets. And so if we try and apply this same metaphor to human behavior, what this is describing is in a situation in which one person, or even perhaps a group of people, are going to do better in some way than the collective, or succeed and stand out from the crowd, that another member of the crowd will reach out to criticize them and pull them back, motivated by jealousy, spite, or some other equally unhelpful emotion. And you may also have heard of tall poppy syndrome, which describes exactly the same thing. If someone succeeds, does very well, and then tells people about that or draws attention to it in some way, they will have attention focused on them and the larger group will criticize them, and the tall poppies then get cut down before the shorter ones. So then what you end up with is a load of short poppies and no tall ones at all. But why am I talking about crabs in buckets today? How does this relate in any way to the strikes or politics or anything that's going on? Let's say that one group essentially asks for their situation to be better. So the example we're going to use is that doctors are asking for full pay restoration, which until recently came to around 35%, and we need to talk about that in another video. But the doctors say, look, we're fed up, we want our pay to go back to how it was, we need a 35% pay restoration in order to make that happen. I guarantee you that one of the first things that will happen is that someone will turn up, especially online, and they might say, well, nurses earn less on average than doctors do, and therefore doctors shouldn't get their pay restoration. Or something similar like, well, the average doctor earns more than the average person in the UK, despite the fact that they work more hours than average, but that's a separate thing. Therefore, doctors need to stop complaining and get back to work. Now, of course, I'm sure I don't need to tell you that these arguments are logically fallacious. The wages of doctors have very little to do with the wages of nurses, especially since doctors and nurses are paid on different pay spines, for example. Of course, both sets of wages do ultimately come from the NHS budget, but since the NHS budget is drawn from a much larger pool of money, it's absolutely not a zero-sum game. That means that someone doesn't have to lose in order for someone else to win. That's not how this works. The sums of money involved are so large that it doesn't really matter if you increase the wages of both. Or perhaps to put this all another way, there are some individuals that believe that just because they are unable to succeed, or the group to which they belong has not been historically successful in moving ahead and getting pay conditions, then no other group should either. And obviously what mentalities like this result in is everyone being miserable. You are crabs in buckets. No one else can ever succeed, because any crab that does try and succeed will get pulled back down into the bucket. So the correct, if you like, or perhaps most useful and effective mentality would be to agree that everyone who is unhappy should try and take corrective action. If your group is not successful in achieving a pay rise or improved conditions, then unionize, get organized, and move forward, instead of saying, well, nurses, pharmacists, physios, whatever, haven't had a significant pay rise, therefore doctors can't either. Why don't we instead agree that all of these groups should be paid vastly more, all unionise, work together and coordinate where we can to make sure that everyone succeeds in what they want to do as well as we can. And that's where I was actually going to leave this video, but I think before closing off, let's have a look at 5 ways to help us avoid crab mentality and make sure that we've got a more positive environment for everyone. The first is to focus on personal growth. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on your personal growth and development. Set your own goals, work towards achieving them regardless of what others are doing. Just because others succeed, it doesn't mean you can't, and vice versa. The second is to celebrate the success of others. Learn to appreciate and celebrate the success of those that you work with. If you see someone else achieving their goals, congratulate them and let them know that you are happy for how they're doing. Number 3 is to build a supportive network, surrounding yourself with supportive and positive people who encourage and inspire you to be the best version of yourself that you can be. Having a good network means that these people can offer you valuable advice, support and motivation in the times you really need it. Tip number 4 is to simply avoid negative people. Avoid the toxic people that try and bring you down or make you feel bad about your accomplishments. Surround yourself with people who uplift you and help you grow. And step number 5, being mindful of your own thoughts. Pay attention to your thoughts, feelings and identity when you experience envy and jealousy towards other people. And it's important to acknowledge that these feelings are completely natural, but don't let them control you. Try and shift your mindset towards positivity and focus on your own progress. That's where we're going to wrap up this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to hit the like button for me, leave a comment, subscribe. Don't forget to go and check out my website for more free content just like this. Take care, and I'll see you next time.